Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Switched On. We took last week off due to a combination of scheduling conflicts and just people generally being sick. But we're back and we're really excited to talk Nintendo, because it's been a while. So as always, I'm your host, Ben Lamoreux, and I'm joined this week by a newcomer to the show, a writer who joined Gamnesia back in April. Everyone welcome Mark Kelly to the show.
Hey girl.
How's it going, Mark?
It's going great. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, we're glad to have you. Originally, we were going to have two new people on this week. We were also going to have Tess from our streaming team, but unfortunately, she is still too sick to record. So instead, we've brought back a familiar voice from the first episode. Welcome back, Jeff.
Hello, everyone! I have returned to grace your earholes with the sound of my dulcet tones.
Air horns.
Pretty sure we're instantly going to get demonetized for that. So as usual, we'll be breaking down some of the hottest news from the past couple of weeks this time since we took a week off, and just sort of giving our thoughts on everything that's been going on in the world of Nintendo. And then a little later, we're going to dive into a discussion segment about Nintendo franchises that we think either just need a straight-up reboot or at least some sort of fresh start to get them back on track. But first, we're going to jump into news, and it would not be an episode of Switched On if we didn't talk about Bowserette. So,
oh boy!
Oh hell yeah! Do we have like a Bowserette theme song we have yet?
We need to make one. We need to make one because she's like our unofficial mascot at this point.
Let's get it on. There we go.
So the Bowserette weekly roundup is pretty light this week. We just have one story, and it's not technically a Bowserette story, but it's just too good to pass up. Right around the same time that Bowserette was getting really popular across, all the different social media platforms, Nintendo released this official book of artwork in Japan that contains like concept art for Super Mario Odyssey, just characters that didn't make it into the game or costumes, that kind of thing. And it turns out, long before someone came up with the idea of giving Bowser the Super Crown and turning him into a pretty goth princess, Nintendo had already sort of come up with this official half-Peach, half-Bowser character called, she's just called Peach Bowser, isn't she? I think that's what the artwork calls her.
Something pretty simple. Cool Peach
So, yeah.
in Japanese.
Bowserette isn't quite canon, but it's close.
I kind of love this because, you can tell how different the priorities are between Nintendo and the fan base. Because the fan base designed some weird S&M princess out of, a Rihanna video. But then Nintendo's like, no, here's the real Bowserette. And it's just some, ginger Peach with a green and an orange frock. It's like, oh, this is so PG. This is so family-friendly. Why don't we see her boobs?
Oh, you have the fans for that.
Yeah.
Oh boy, just Bowserette really, really took the internet by storm over the past couple of weeks. Just
Hashtag break the internet, am I right?
Right, yeah, pretty much. Just you'd think that, of course, the fans have done it first because, of course, present something on the internet, there's bound to be porn of it, and then next thing you know, well, Nintendo pretty much beat everyone to the punch already. Just those maniacs, they did it first.
I remember when a new Sonic character came out a long time ago, that Shade character, and it took about maybe an hour before there was porn of her, and it's I don't get it. These people are just so fast.
Hey, it's the Sonic community. You gotta go fast.
Ah! Bad. No.
Well, unfortunately, I wish we could sit around and talk about Bowserette for an hour and a half, but we do have other Nintendo news to get to, including actually quite a bit of Pokemon news over the past couple weeks.
Oh god, yeah.
Yeah, so one of the bigger ones is GameStop is giving away, and I'm totally going to butcher this pronunciation, I'm sure, Zeraora? Is that how it's pronounced?
I thought it was Zeraora.
Zeraora?
Yeah.
Okay.
Aura. That's how I've been pronouncing it, Zeraora.
So this is the first time that this mythical Pokemon has actually been available in any kind of official capacity, even though it leaked forever ago because everything leaks thanks to data miners now.
Can I say something controversial?
Go ahead.
I hate this Pokemon.
Yeah?
A lot.
I just don't really have strong feelings for it, regardless. It's just kind of there,
I mean, I love, most Pokemon. Everyone has a place in my heart, including Stunfisk and da-da-da-da-da. But, this one just looks someone's DeviantArt OC of like Lucario's girlfriend.
Yeah, a little
and
bit.
I'm not here for it. I am not here for it.
I've got my own thoughts on Zeraora. I mean, not exactly about Zeraora itself, but more how mythical and legendary Pokemon distributions have kind of just felt a little
Bleh.
underwhelming. Like, I remember back during Gen 4 when they had all these like these exclusive in-game events with their own separate stories, like I don't know, like Shaman or Darkrai, and then Arceus.
Oh, yeah.
That is the fire alarm in my house. I will be right back.
Okay, we'll take a break for a minute.
All right, pause.
Sorry for the brief interruption. We here at Switched On would like to inform you that no houses were burned down in the production of this podcast. Now back to the show.
Right, so one of my points about not necessarily Zeraora alone, but more Pokemon distributions as a whole as of late, is just how very underwhelming everything has gotten. Like, as I said before my fire alarm just went off for no reason. I remembered back during Gen 4, Gen 5, all these mythical and rare Pokemon distributions, they had like little in-game exclusive side stories tied to them, and now it's just, oh yeah, sure, here's Deontay, oh, here's Zeraora, oh, here's Marshadow, just, there you go.
Yeah, you just kind of
enjoy.
Walk into a retailer and download them, whereas you used to, like, GameStop would give you an item, and then you take that item to some building in your game that used to be empty, but now it triggers a cutscene, and it used to be a lot more involved.
I remember back in Gen 3, though, it was sort of like how it is today, where it was kind of like no Black Story bull crap, but it was terrible, because I went to a Toys R Us new distribution a long time ago. I'm going to show my age a little bit, except not really, I'm 26. And I was there with my little brother, and there was a line basically out the door where people would bring their cartridges up to one woman who had a Game Boy Advance with a bunch of Mews, and they would trade them, like in the Pokemon Center. Just that's how you got your Mew.
Oh man, that sounds like the most inefficient method ever.
It took so long, and like I was a little kid, like I was elated, but my older sister was there with me, and she was like, "Are we done yet? Did you get Mew yet? Is Mew done yet?" But I'm like, Gen 4 was good about it. Maybe Gen 5. Every other generation was crap.
Yeah, there was Victini and Zorua that had their own little side stories.
Oh, God,
those were fun, and now it's just bleh. But speaking of Gen 3 events, though, I hated the Gen 3 events because none of them were happening near where I was living. This was before like all the distributions started to be done off of online, because Game Boy Advances, of course, didn't have online, and now it's just, oh, there it is, sweet, finally.
Yeah,
I'm participating.
It sucks to live in the suburbs in like Cincinnati when all the events are like, here's one in LA, here's one in New York, okay, we're done.
Yeah, try Canada.
Yeah, I bet. What do they come to, like 2 cities in all of Canada?
Oh my god, exactly. Or just don't bother coming at all. Yes, here's our North American tour, all of our stops in the US. That's it.
Wait, you're saying there's more to North America than just the United States?
I know, it's fascinating. There are little things called borders on the north and south of the country.
You mean the water? That's just, it's America and then water, right?
The large island.
This is like
America.
the hellscape in Twilight Zone, right? It's just a cornfield in America and then nothing else.
So, yeah, if you do happen to be lucky enough to have a GameStop or, whatever near you, looks like that event starts on October 19th and runs through November 9th. And then at a completely different retailer, because, we have to make things complicated, Target will be giving away Zekrom and Reshiram from the 19th through the 28th. So, yeah, once again, it's just kind of go to the store, download the Pokemon, as opposed to, like, a whole big event. So, I get why Nintendo does this. I'm sure it's a good like business practice between them and these retailers, but it's a little annoying as fans to like jump from store to store and then not actually get anything new added to your game outside of just the creature itself.
Yeah, especially since legendaries are so easy to come by nowadays with like online trading. There's nothing really special about this, especially like I don't endorse Pokemon hacking, but if you hack Pokemon, it's pretty easy to find them.
Oh, yes, I remember all these retailers that we have to go up to, like Target, Best Buy, GameStop, and soon Jeffrey's Toy Box.
Is that
Gross.
your toy box, or?
Gross.
No, that's Jeffrey with a J. No, I'm I'm Jeffrey with a J. I'm thinking Jeffrey with a G.
How'd you forget your own name? You were born with it.
I'm exhausted. But speaking of current or ongoing Pokemon distributions, don't forget to pick up Shiny Poipole at GameStop if you haven't yet.
Oh, I didn't even
Poipole's
realize
cute.
that was going on.
I like Poipole.
Well, you should go and get one.
I don't have Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. I'm not going to waste my money on that. I already bought Sun and Moon.
Yeah, I had, I think just regular Moon, but then I traded that in. So the only Pokemon game I still own is Soul Silver, because that's just my favorite, and I'll never let go of that.
And if you even try to sell it, you'll
was an
probably
excellent
become a
remake.
millionaire.
Yeah, and they're so expensive. Used copies were like $50-$60 for a game that was like, what, $35 when it launched? But I get it, because I don't want to trade my copy in, so I assume no one else does either.
No.
So also in Pokemon news, rather than doing like an online demo, or though, maybe they still will in the future, but Game Freak has a Pokemon Let's Go tour going through the U.S. And again, when I say the U.S., I mean, let me count here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cities in their U.S. tour.
That's all of them, right? That's all of them.
Yeah,
right?
that's all of the cities. They hit
Okay,
7
good.
states, all 7 states of the United States.
We've only got
Yes.
7 stars on that flag, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. I remember the American flag. It's 7 stars,
So,
no
yeah.
stripes.
They'll be coming to well, by the time this is out, they will have already hit San Francisco and Seattle, and then they're also coming to Dallas, Topeka, Kansas, Chicago, Illinois, Boston, Massachusetts, and New York.
Kansas.
Yeah,
I mean, not to sound like a hypocrite from what I was just talking about like 2 seconds ago, but like, of all the cities to go to, you pick one in Kansas.
yeah. One of these things is not like the other. When you read through
Yeah.
that list,
That's their charity case right there. Okay, we're gonna do our basic cities, and the number 7, we're gonna take a map and close our eyes and point. There you go.
Pin the tail on the map.
That's how you know it's fair.
Someone won a sweepstakes.
And on top of the U.S., I think it's also coming to EGLX in Toronto in 2 weeks.
Oh, excellent! Did they get that? That's fantastic. Yeah,
I believe so, but I know Smash Bros. Is definitely going to be there.
awesome. Yeah, if you're in the Toronto area or just Canada in general, you should definitely check out the Enthusiast Gaming Live Expo. I believe it's the 26th through the 28th in Toronto. So that's going to be a pretty big event. It's actually run by our parent company, Enthusiast Gaming. So some of us might be there, depending on if we can get travel schedules and everything figured out. But either way, it's going to be a great event.
Now, the reason why these demo tours are going around nowadays instead of like a download demo is because of like data mining, right?
I would assume so, yeah.
Yeah, that's why no one's gonna give you a Super Smash Brothers Ultimate demo, which they should. But no, we find out all the characters as if Vergaman didn't leak them already.
See, that one, I think there might be a chance. I think Bill Trennan kind of gave a sort of coy answer when asked about it, but yeah, I think with Pokemon, they're probably going to want to like keep a lot of this under wraps. And if we do get a Smash demo, I would imagine it wouldn't be until like all of the characters that will be there at launch have been announced. Because yeah, like you said, otherwise just data miners will rip it apart. So
Yeah. Plus, we already did get a Smash Bros. Demo for 3DS. So if I remember right, Club Nintendo members at the time, some of them got early access to the demo, and then there was a general release by the time the game came out.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
I don't know. I doubt they'll do the same with my Nintendo, but at the very least, there is precedent for a Smash demo before launch.
here's hoping.
I want it so bad.
So also coming soon in the world of Pokemon, Pokemon Go will be getting Gen 4 Pokemon. Which
Yes!
Yay!
Yeah, I'm very excited about that. Gen 4 is one of my favorites. So they started teasing this, I think, back in like June or July. They put out a piece of concept art that was, I think, for the anniversary of Pokemon Go, the 2-year anniversary. And if you looked real closely, you could find like Turtwig and Piplup hidden in there. So yeah, they've officially announced that it's actually coming. We don't have a date yet, but I believe it's before the end of the year. And they want to release some patches that make like some balance changes first. But it's on the way very soon, and I'm excited because I think Gen 4 has probably my favorite starter Pokemon of any of the gens.
I agree with you. Well, I agreed with you for a long time until Poplio came out. But Chimchar and Piplup are 2 of the best starters, period.
Yeah, I really love Infernape.
Yeah.
And Polion, I'm looking forward to having you again.
Yes, he's a
And
boss.
And as for the date, I think it's going to come a lot sooner than we think, because at the end of the Gen 4 teaser trailer, they teased Giratina, a dragon and ghost type, and if anything, I hear the Gen 4 data has already been rolled out to Android devices, coming soon to iOS, and then once everyone's got it, boom, flip a switch, here we go. Mewtwo's out of the raids, and next up is going to be Giratina.
Okay, you thinking maybe like a Halloween event since it's a ghost type?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That would make a lot of sense.
I love Halloween events.
Get people out there trick-or-treating for, like, the devil Pokemon.
Well, when you put it that way.
Good.
What other ghost types do they have? There's Spiritomb, if I recall correctly.
There's Spiritomb, there's Dusknoir.
Oh, yes! Gen 4 evolutions, we've got a lot of candies to spend.
Finally.
Oh, yeah.
Gonna get my Roserade.
My Gallade.
God,
My Magnezone.
Yeah, Magnezone's going to be a good one. I've got, like, a really leveled up Magmar that I've been waiting to evolve for a long time.
I'm gonna finally spend those blanking Murkrow candies that I have, because what else am I gonna do with them?
Oh, man, I've been so excited for that, too, just because I've probably told you guys this story before, because it's one of my favorites, but when they were in the naming process, or the localization process, at least, for Gen 4, there was a push within the company to name Murkrow's evolution Don Crowleone.
Oh my god.
But it got shot down. So I've been just waiting to have one named that.
Don Crowleone.
It sucks when there's a funny name put out there for a naming contest, and then the folks in charge are just like, you know what? No, this was a mistake. Like how I think it was this British liner ship or warship, I forget, but there was a naming contest, and the winning name was Bodie McBoatface,
yes.
And naturally they didn't go with it.
Well, I love how Mandabuzz's Japanese name is like Volgina.
Really?
Yeah. So I wish I kept that. That would have been fun.
I can see why they didn't.
It's great. It's good, guys. It's good. I love it. It's good.
Genitals.
And on that note, our final big Pokemon story from the past couple weeks is we got a pretty big look at Meltan this week.
I love him.
Yeah, so that adorable, dorky little industrial nut Pokemon that started popping up in Pokemon Go a couple weeks ago. Now we know a lot more about him. It appears that we'll be getting this mystery box item that'll work in tandem with like special research quests to let you summon and catch a bunch of Meltan. And then you'll have to you can transfer them over to Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. And then at the very end of the trailer, they seem to imply that if you get enough Meltan together, I don't know if this is an evolution or a new form of some type, but we see this sort of ominous shadow of a much, much bigger, more menacing-looking creature with that same industrial nut. So it seems like there's something new coming.
So, Meltan on top of a Metagross, then?
Yeah, basically. It kind of looks like that.
It's just 5 Meltans in a trench coat.
Meltan adult man.
But I gotta say, like, this mythical Pokemon design, I gotta say, he's really cute. He's really Meltan my heart.
No.
Note to self, never invite Jeff on show again.
But the people need to hear my voice.
They do.
I didn't like Meltan at first, but then I found out that little like orb in his face is actually an eyeball and not just some random weird avant-garde crap.
Yeah.
And then I loved him.
Yeah. So I'm kind of thinking what's going on with this this shadowy form is that it might be something similar to what we saw with Zygarde, where as you collect more of them or more pieces of them, it takes on different forms. Where there was like the 10% and the 50% form Zygarde. So yeah, I don't know. Typically, if they're called mythical, it's pretty rare that they would ever evolve. So I'm thinking multiple forms is more likely, especially since his description says that he's made out of liquid metal and he can take in other metal in order to like make himself stronger. So I think that's what we're going to be seeing is a sort of transforming mythical Pokemon.
And not to sound controversial again about Pokemon, but Zygarde really felt like a rough draft. And so this guy seems like the real Pokemon. This one's going to be the real thing that we try to do, where it's got a 10% form and a 50% form.
And it makes sense to sort of bring it out with Let's Go, too, where you're already used to going out and catching like a bajillion versions of the same Pokemon anyway.
Oh god, you're right. I just realized that. You're going to have to get a billion of these guys, like, really, and not just, like, look for them like you did with Zygarde. That's going to be terrible. I hate this Pokemon now.
And I think there's one more piece of Pokemon news, but not really anything big. But the Super Smash Bros. Blog did drop that Greninja has a new Final Smash.
Oh, okay.
And it's going to be Ash Greninja from Pokemon Sun and Moon.
That'll be pretty interesting. I don't think there's been any images or footage yet, but yeah, it's...
No, they just name dropped him on today's blog update.
Yeah, it's always nice when they change up the Final Smashes a little bit and keep things fresh.
Mm-hmm. We're going to go into this game, and everything is going to be super fresh and a surprise, because they're not giving us any real information.
Give it a couple of weeks.
I'm starving!
Remember when people thought it was just a port?
Well, I mean... There's a lot of reused assets, let's not lie, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, but have you had a chance to go hands-on with it at all?
No, I live in Cincinnati.
Yeah, that's true.
I'd like to in a couple of weeks.
It definitely feels a lot different, and a lot of the I would say all the characters have been at least a little reworked. Some of them have been a lot reworked, but I would say it feels closer to to the last Smash game than Melee to Brawl does, definitely. But it's faster, everything's a little tighter. I think it'll be a little bit better for that competitive crowd without losing the casual crowd.
And I'm excited for that. Brawl was... I don't want to sound like a, competitive gamer, #MLG, air horn. But Brawl was very slow. And 4 was good, but it also felt a little bit cash. So I think that maybe quickening the pace for Ultimate is going to be good. For at least my scene. Because I'm a great Smash Bros. Player. I'm the best one in the universe.
I'll have to put that to the test.
I'm in that category where I can beat all of my friends, locally, no problem. Well, there's, one or two that, are actually a challenge. But then I go online and get my butt kicked. So, I'm in that category of good Smash Bros. Player.
Yeah, I pretend to be good, but, the second I, try to play as Bayonetta, it's very, very, preschool. Okay, I'm gonna press A, and then I'm gonna press A, and then the, other guy on For Glory just already killed me.
Yeah.
If anything, I'm looking forward to seeing all the exciting matchups, given how insane the roster has already gotten when it comes to both scope and variety. So, I don't know, this is definitely going to trump, I'm going to be pretty bold in saying this, especially given how persistent the Melee crowd has been, but this might just put every other, Smash scene to bed, I feel.
Good.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I think it's good enough that it can, but, like you said, the Melee crowd is pretty passionate, so I think they're always going to exist in their very vocal bubble. That's fine. If you've got a game that you love and you're great at and you can have a passionate community for it, then by all means. I just hope, it doesn't stop people from enjoying new content as well.
That's true, but Melee doesn't have Lucina, and therefore it's a worse game.
That is also true.
Just objectively the worst.
Objectively.
Mm-hmm. My daughter deserves better, even though she didn't exist at the time.
She is my daughter. How dare you?
She can be our daughter.
We'll have to have a custody battle later. So we got a little bit of unexpected Nintendo Switch Online news this week. 3 more games were added to the NES lineup, that digital library you get for subscribing, which that we already knew was coming. Let's see, it was Solomon's Key, Super Dodgeball, and NES Open Tournament. But without
bringing
really...
up big guns.
Yeah, I know, right? All of the top sellers. It was a little bit of a weak lineup. You think, that they'd want to put out their best for the holiday season, but, whatever.
Like Circus Charlie, for example. Come on, guys.
Circus Charlie.
Ugh.
But yeah, surprisingly, there was a 4th game, not exactly a new game. They put out a new version of the original Legend of Zelda that's just sort of like an easy mode, where you start with all of the armor upgrades and weapons and a bunch of money, but you still have to go around and beat all 8 of the dungeons or whatever, and then go challenge Ganon. So I guess it's just kind of for people that want to experience that world, but get easily frustrated by how tough the bosses are and how... back then, AI was pretty simple, so you couldn't really make smart enemies. You just had to make enemies that have lots of health and deal lots of damage. So I guess this is just a way for either newcomers or people that don't have the patience to grind through it to just kind of jump in and explore that whole world.
Well, I personally think that NES games are way too complex, so I think the easy version of Zelda is great.
That almost sounds like sarcasm.
Because it is. Oh my god. Oh my god. Easy version of an NES game. Kill me.
If anything, I'd like to see a remake of this in Zelda 2 at some point. I mean, we've pretty much seen every every other Zelda game, every other Zelda game modernized or remade in some capacity. So, I don't know, it'd be nice to see those two and Skyward Sword, but mainly just see... let's see, if I recall correctly, did the Metroid Samus Returns developers express interest in a Zelda 2 remake, I think?
Somebody has. I want to say, I'm pretty sure like the Castlevania Lords of Shadow people did at one point. I think a couple developers have. I'm not sure. Mercury Steam might have. I'd have to look that up, but they may have. And I'm with you there where, I get that some people might think the original NES games are too hard, but I think more than that, what they just need is like quality of life improvements to make them accessible to a modern audience, like, a map. That might
Who needs a map?
Save feature.
Yeah. So I personally, like, I don't mind whenever Nintendo does like these easy mode things because, it's like whatever. That means they can make the game hard, and then if people can't handle the hard mode or if like their kids can't handle it or whatever, then they have the easy option. I just don't necessarily think that giving you all the items at the start was the way to sort of fix the original Zelda. I think there are better ways to do that. But, it costs like nothing to make this little simple ROM hack where you start with all the items, whereas if they wanted to make an actual full-fledged remake of the first two games, I'd be 100% for that. But obviously that's a bigger time and money investment from Nintendo, so I don't know if they're really willing to go that route.
Yeah, I guess I just came into this like NES Online stuff with a bad foot forward because I'm kind of tired of them porting the same games onto every system over and over again without porting like the SNES ones and the Nintendo 64 ones. So the fact that they're trying to sell us a $20 online system for, here's NES Golf, here's Dodgeball, everyone, yay!
But where's Circus Charlie?
Sour. Circus Charlie, yeah! Everyone loved that one. He's in Smash Brothers, right?
I don't know, you'd have to ask Konami.
Oh, God.
I'd rather not. But yeah, I kind of wonder if this will open the door to future sort of easy versions of games, just because, there's a lot of games on the NES that are really, really hard. So, and I think Switch kind of has an older audience. Nintendo's been kind of targeting those people that grew up in the 90s and have kind of gotten away from gaming a little bit. But at the same time, they want to broaden that horizon. They want to bring in more people. And I think, like, Pokemon will bring in some younger fans to play Pokemon Go, or just some more casual fans in general. I think Animal Crossing will bring in some younger fans. So I can see them wanting to have these sort of more accessible versions of their classic games for less experienced players. But yeah, I don't know if just handing them all the items is the best way to do that. So let's keep petitioning Nintendo for that Legend of Zelda Zero mission, essentially. So moving on to our next bit of news. Splatoon is doing a big worldwide Halloween event. Actually, it'll be a little bit before Halloween, but there's going to be Halloween decorations throughout a lot of the stages, and you can get like exclusive spooky gear. And they'll be doing a Splatfest where you get to choose between Team Trick or Team Treat. So, do either of you guys play Splatoon 2? It's not really my bag, but I know it's still pretty popular. It has a pretty good online community.
I play it casually. I don't have Switch Online yet. So I kind of felt the face of the earth of the Splatoon community, but it's a cute game. It's pretty fun.
As for me, I've been off and on with Splatoon. I think I'll be around for the Halloween Splatfest, but lately I've just been hardcore into Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Ever since playing Torna, I just could not drop it.
I really do love the... I saw all the Halloween stuff that they're doing, and it's adorable. I do love when like Japanese like media things, Japanese like cartoons and video games do Halloween, because it's not really a big holiday, at least it wasn't in the past 20 years, but now it's kind of up and coming in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And so you see how like cute and pure it is over there. Because like in England, I know that Halloween is just viewed as like a holiday where no one does anything except the teenagers who egg houses. And in America, it's everything. Everyone loves Halloween. But in Japan, it's kind of like a new thing where it's like, ooh, what's this weird foreign thing? Let's do it.
Yeah, you're kind of seeing it like through their eyes.
Yes, it's so pure.
Yeah, and I really appreciate like just how much free support Nintendo gives Splatoon. They did like free new stages and items and weapons and stuff like that for like a year, and then even after that ran out, they're still doing these Splatfests and these occasional like themed events. And so I really like to see that, because a lot of companies do DLC really, really crappy and just milk you dry. And even Nintendo, I think, had a little bit of a problem with that last generation with Smash Bros, where I think that they charged a lot of money for some of those stages and characters. So it always warms my heart when they're still supporting an online heavy game like this like a year and a half after launch with regular events and regular free content. So
and those who missed out on the original Splatoon, they've even brought back a good chunk of the stages from the first game too, since of course not everybody owned a Wii U. So that was a really nice move on their part.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then there's also the Splatoon 2 Octoling amiibo that's coming out in a couple months. Have you seen some of the costumes that you unlock just from scanning them in?
No, I haven't.
Bear is terrifying.
Oh god.
I've already seen a few shit posts on Twitter going around. There's this one artist that drew a really funny looking Inkling just streaking and running away from one of those like bear mask wearing Inklings or Octolings, just charging up one of those Booyah blasts.
Well, it is Halloween, so the scarier the better, I guess.
It's good. I love it.
But it won't be until December.
Oh, that's not coming till December? Okay.
Yeah, they'll be. Coincidentally, these amiibos are coming out the same day as Smash Brothers. Hashtag Octolings confirmed? ?
I know, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that would make a lot of sense for them to be, another character that gets kind of snuck in there at the last minute.
I did predict that they would be in as Echo Fighters. I don't know if they'll be in for the base roster or maybe for DLC, but they're gonna be in.
Yeah.
Calling it now.
Yeah, Splatoon is just so popular, especially in Japan, so it just makes sense to get it a lot of representation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you're looking forward to that Halloween event, that'll be October 19th through the 21st, so coming up in about a week. So another thing that happened this week, or depending on when this episode releases, maybe last week, Super Mario Party launched. And based on its aggregate score on Metacritic, it's actually the highest rated entry in the series since the very first one on N64. So highest rated Mario Party game in 20 years. Have you guys had a chance to play this with some friends yet?
Oh yeah, I actually really love it. It's kind of like harkening back to the original Mario Parties, where you're not in the blanking cart.
Yup.
I mean, it's a little different. Like the boards are smaller. You have this like buddy system, which is amazing. But sometimes it's sort of like the game of life when you go through the entire board without getting married and having kids.
Yeah.
It gets really sad when you're near the end and you don't have a buddy yet.
Yeah, so
you feel very lonely.
The night it came out, I went over to some friend's house and we had a big Mario party, I guess. And so, yeah, we had a ton of fun with it. And we had, a similar note about the friends. Because on our way around, I think I picked up like 3 or 4 friends. And my friend Katie picked up like 4 or 5. And then my friend Mike, he didn't get a single friend until like the second to last turn. And so that put him at like a really big disadvantage in terms of mini games. Because, in some of the mini games, your buddy, I almost said buddy Pokemon, your buddy Nintendo character, they can help you in some of the mini games, grab coins for you, or like if it's one where you all have to survive, you can get knocked out and then your buddies will still be alive, like fighting for you. So this is a super fun game. Like you said, it's kind of back to roots, kind of reminds you of like the N64 days, but it has a few balancing issues, and I would say the buddies is one. And something I proposed to people on Twitter, and a lot of people liked it, is just, like, turn limits. Make it, like, 5 turns. You can have a buddy for 5 turns, and then they disappear. Because, yeah, if you get one on, like, turn 2 or 3, and then you keep them all the way to the end, like, you've had a buddy for 17 turns. And then if you're, someone you're playing against doesn't get one, every mini-game for 17 turns, they're at a disadvantage, so...
There's also the whole tier list with the special character dice.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't need a Mario Party game with a tier list where Bowser is, like, on the top of the tournament scene. Like, what in the hell is that? Oh god, if there's a tournament scene for Mario Party, I'm just gonna throw myself out this building
I swear to god if there is. It just, the whole point is RNG with the dice especially. Just how do you measure that competitively?
Well, someone went through and made like a fan chart where they did the math on like, what your average roll is going to be with each of the special dice. And yeah, it's, somewhat subjective because, whether you prefer coins or like a high roll or whatever everyone's going to have a slightly different value system. But they went through and tried to rank who had the best and worst dice. And I think they found that like Yoshi had the worst and like Bowser was near the top. So that's another thing where maybe Nintendo will look at that and balance it a little bit. But at the same time, it's Mario Party. It doesn't need to be...
It's a party game!
Yeah, it doesn't need to be as tightly balanced as like Smash, And
it doesn't matter what die you have, you're still going to lose to Princess Peach.
Well, I won playing as Daisy, so close enough.
Yeah.
Well, there's no Bowsette, so...
Yet. And that's
Hashtag it DLC confirmed.
Yeah, I'm actually really hoping for DLC, just because aside from a few balancing issues, that's my only other complaint, is just that there's only 4 boards. Which I think is fine if it follows the same format as like Splatoon and ARMS, where every few months Nintendo is like, hey, guess what? Have this extra board for free. Like, and it could even be themed over, like, you know, recently released games. Like, you know, an Animal Crossing board or something would be really sweet when that launches.
Yeah, I'd be into that.
Yeah, so...
And I don't know, like, you'd also expect a bigger cast of characters, too, at least when it comes to variety, because, I don't know, I mean, Super Mario Odyssey came out, and yet you still don't see Pauline or Cappy or just anyone from the game making any substantial appearances outside of cameos, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's so weird how, like, all these characters are kind of like generic Bowser minions, but, like, actual named Mario characters kind of go to the wayside. Like,
right?
Birdo's not in there, Pauline's not in there, Toad and Toadette, well, you know, Toad's a generic person.
Captain
like,
Toad
Toadette is like a rando in the board game, can't be playable. The game gets an F because you can't play as Toadette. There, I said it.
Yeah, I'm all about that Captain Toad, personally. So yeah, I'm hoping that's something that they keep adding to, you know, with hopefully free DLC over time. Because, like, yeah, it's not going to be that much of an effort to toss in another character with their own unique dice or whatever. So I think that's something Nintendo can rectify pretty easily. But in the meantime, like, I loved a lot of the mini-games, and I love that you can practice the mini-games in the explanation window before you play them.
That's a good feature.
Yeah, the game looks gorgeous. It sounds gorgeous. Like, it's fantastic. You know, we've you know, complained a little bit about some of the things because that's, you know, we're people. That's what we do. We nitpick. But at the end of the day, that is the most fun I've had playing a Mario Party game probably since 6 on the GameCube. So,
I agree.
Got a question, though. How's the online?
So I haven't done much with it yet. I know, like, there's the Mario-a-thon mode where you just play mini-games. From what I understand, it's a little restricted. It's kind of like Splatoon, where, like, at certain times of day, only certain mini-games are accessible, and then they cycle out. So, again, that's something I'm hoping that gets flushed out a little more over time. But I haven't really played with it enough myself to say, like, if it's, you know, a stable experience or anything. I haven't heard too much for complaints, other than just there needs to be more variety.
There's a limited number of mini games you can play online at a time. There's that good old Nintendo polish right there. There we go.
Yeah, that
That's
seems like an odd choice.
70 mini games, but you can only play 5 of them.
Nintendo.
Terrible.
So if we're,
but like I said, it's a good game.
Yeah, if we're all done with Mario Party, we've actually got quite a collection of sort of rumors and rumblings this week. You guys ready to tear into those?
Heck yes.
So first up on our list, Animal Crossing. We know that's coming to Switch sometime in 2019. And the reveal trailer didn't have any official gameplay footage. You know, it was just kind of like a little video made for that purpose, both to announce Isabelle and Smash and to tease the game. And then Nintendo just sort of gave it the generic 2019 window. They didn't give like a quarter or a season or anything like they sometimes do. So I think the general consensus was kind of that this game's probably still fairly early in development. You know, maybe it's like a fall or a holiday title. But we've been hearing some rumblings that it might be a lot sooner than that. And this,
I love it.
Yeah, I'm hoping this is true, and I have pretty good reason to think it might be. The information comes from Twitter user / industry insider PixelPar, which he wasn't like super high on my radar until a few months back, when I don't remember how I stumbled across his Twitter account, but, you know, he was posting a bunch of stuff, and, you know, I keep tabs on a lot of those people, and then a lot of them turn out to be full of crap, and they don't actually have any insider information. They're just throwing rumors at the wall. But he was consistently dropping Pokemon Let's Go hints for like a month straight before Nintendo had ever made any kind of official announcement. And then when they did make the official announcement, everything he said was correct. So since then, I've been keeping more of an eye on him. And according to a couple of his sources, or actually it might just be the one source, Nintendo is actually pretty far along in the development, and they didn't announce an official date because they're, you know, not quite ready to make that commitment. But they are targeting it to be out by March if possible. You know, they close their books for the end of the fiscal year on March 31st. So if you can get one last title out, you know, like mid or late March, and that, you know, it boosts revenue, looks good for the investors. But they didn't want to commit to that because they think it's possible it might slip into April. But yeah, if that's correct, we're only looking at like a few months until Animal Crossing instead of a year.
Nintendo's getting good at this. Like, they're not, like, announcing games in, like, 1999 and releasing them in 2040 anymore.
Yeah.
Like, they're starting to
Enix could learn a
Beyonce
thing or
things. Like,
two.
for all we know, Animal Crossing Switch is just going to be released randomly midnight tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, because, there can be fatigue when you, announce a game and then you don't hear about it for, like, a year, and then there's just, like, a short trailer, and then you don't hear about it for a year. Like, if you're Hideo Kojima, you can get away with that, but I think Nintendo is wise to just sort of announce these games, like, 6 months to a year before they launch.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're starting off 2019 with that new Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe in January, and probably Animal Crossing not even 2 months down the line. That's
Also,
already
Fire
pretty
Emblem in
year.
January, too.
Wait, they dropped the release date?
Yep, Fire Emblem's January. They announced that, I want to say, like, a couple months ago. Maybe at E3?
Wait, I thought it was spring 2019.
It was, I think it was originally supposed to be this year, and then it got delayed, so let me double check.
I don't know, because I distinctly remember the E3 trailer that's dropping 2019 there for spring.
They better not be Kingdom Heartsing us.
Oh, no, they won't.
It's going to come out in 2018, guys. That's right, January 2019.
Oh, okay, I guess it is listed as spring for some... Oh, okay, I don't know where I was getting the January
You
thing
brought
from.
my hopes up for nothing.
Yeah, I know, I crushed you.
Tragic.
I feel like there's something coming to Switch in January other than just Mario, but I guess I must have had my games mixed up.
Either way, it's still good that Nintendo's releasing a lot of games fairly quickly.
Yeah, and then there's, even a handful of games that don't have a confirmed 2019 launch yet, but could still, sneak in there. Well, we know Luigi's Mansion is slated for 2019, but then there's also the possibility of, whatever the heck Retro has been working on for 5 years. Whatever the
Metroid
heck...
Prime 4.
They're still hiring staff for it.
Yeah, they actually just put out a bunch more hiring ads recently. But yeah, Metroid Prime 4 is another one that could potentially drop in 2019. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of reason to be excited for the console. And then obviously, just at the end of 2018, we just got Mario Party, and then we're getting Pokemon, and then we're getting Smash. So, yeah, it was a bit of a slow year for software releases, but I think they're starting to pick up again.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if anything, I feel it started to pick up again as of last month. Like I mentioned earlier on, Torn of the Golden Country, I've just, torn it apart, you might say. But
Womp womp.
No, I won't say that. Why would I say that?
All right, and then this month, Mario Party. Next month, Pokemon, then Smash.
And this one wasn't
Mario
first
Bros.
party, but Octopath Traveler was an exclusive too, and that was the top-selling software the month that came out, which was July, I think. So,
Wait, isn't Dark Souls out next week on Switch?
something like that. Very soon, I know.
Ports. Ugh.
Yeah, I don't think that'll be a system seller, but it's still nice for people like me who haven't played it. So,
And me.
So speaking of Nintendo doing crazy things in 2019, our next report, I believe this is from the Wall Street Journal, is that Nintendo is planning to launch a new Switch model of some kind next year. It looks like they're saying summer at the earliest, but probably sometime in the second half of 2019 generally. And
This is...
Oh, go ahead.
This is so typical of them releasing another Switch model the second I get a Switch. Like, I just got mine in July, and they're like, okay, now we're going to get a cooler model. And I'm like, crap!
I mean, let's be honest. They're not the only ones doing that. Like Xbox One, S, X, and then PS4, PS4 Pro.
Yeah.
But
And,
then again, Nintendo, they've been doing this for a while.
Yeah,
since,
DS
the
and Lite
Game
and
Boy?
I and so on.
Yeah.
So-
So look forward, everyone, to the new Nintendo Switch XL Lite.
Yeah, we
With
don't.
Knuckles.
We don't really have much info on what this is going to be. In fact, according to the Wall Street Journal, Nintendo hasn't even really decided for sure on the specs. Although they speculate that it'll probably be like a thinner, more energy efficient, have a better, more high quality screen, that sort of thing. But beyond that, it's not really clear like what exactly they're going to do with this thing. Is it going to have more features? Is it going to have more power? I think one route they could do is. I think it might be a little too early for like the more powerful Switch unit or whatever, and I think if they do go that way, what they could do is release like a model with a better GPU, or they could release just a sort of dock that has a companion GPU in it, because they actually patented technology where like the Switch, you set it in the dock and then it like hooks up to a second GPU and just gains extra processing power while docked. So I think that's a possibility, but I think that might be something a little further down the road. What I would rather see them do is just a cheaper, slimmer, portable-only Switch. because I think this is it's both a home console and a handheld, but handhelds always have way more sales potential, and Nintendo knows this, and they know you have to get the price down to ideally under 150, but I think it'll take a while for Switch to get there. But I think you can reasonably release a portable-only Switch for $200 by next holiday season, because the current Switch, when you take it into portable mode, it's only using 40% of the GPU. So they could reasonably design a Switch that is just sort of less powerful from the get-go, because they never have to worry about plugging it into the dock and cranking the GPU up to 100. So they can just put a less expensive GPU in it from the start and just sort of design it with that cooling in mind as well. And I think there's some indication that this would kind of make sense with what they want to do, because Nintendo has told investors in the past that the reason that they're still supporting 3DS is that 3DS is a one device per person kind of console, because it's so cheap. Everyone in the family can have one. If you got multiple kids, they're each going to have their own. Whereas Switch right now is still really seen as a one per household device. Meanwhile, Junichi Masuda, the producer of Pokemon, when talking about the core 2019 Pokemon RPG he's working on, said, when we release this, we're doing so with the understanding that, that Switch is a one per person thing. We're going to treat it like past Pokemon games where it's on a handheld, you're going to have multiple handhelds in your house. So I think if Nintendo actually wants to get to that point where there's multiple Switches in, everyone's homes, then you got to have a $200 model in time for 2019, for Christmas 2019. And I think, a portable-only unit is a way to get that done.
I do like that.
It would definitely work with Pokemon.
Yeah.
And they could even call it Switch Go. And totally just brand it in line with that.
Oh my god.
I mean, it would work. I mean, I'm laughing at it, but
you can pay me now, Nintendo.
But it's not even a Switch anymore if it doesn't go on the...
you can
switch
still
from portable.
Yeah, you can still switch from portable to tabletop, but it loses the main functionality of the Switch, which is portable to home console.
Yeah, I do like this idea. I was gonna kind of be mum about the whole rich kid aspect of it all, because I had a DS and my little brother had a DS, so we both had. But you're right, and you said it first, so I can say it. It's not really good if you have a system that's meant for a lot of people that's $400.
Yeah.
So by making it into a portable only Switch version that's only $110 or something, that'll help a lot of kids. Especially if you don't want to share with your little brother, because he's terrible and I hate him.
See, I was the little brother and also a poor kid, so I need my cheap handhelds.
Oh, God, yeah. I was actually one of 6 kids, so I was both the older brother and the little brother.
Oh, goodness.
So moving on, Nintendo, this is less of a rumor and more of what's going to happen here. Nintendo patented a plastic case, basically, that you can snap around your cell phone or your smart device, basically, and it sort of transforms it into a Game Boy. It's just this Game Boy shell, and then the buttons are all pressure sensitive, so that your phone can detect you pressing them and then them pressing against the screen. So they filed this all the way back in March, I believe, and they haven't done anything with it yet. But it's there, and it kind of begs the question, what are they planning to do with this?
Okay, best case scenario, they're gonna release some apps that are actual Game Boy games, and they'll use this feature. So you can actually finally play Super Mario Land on your iPhone. Worst case scenario, they're patenting this so no one else can sell it.
Yeah, because I've seen a lot of third-party versions like this, and and Nintendo has been super protective of their IP in recent years, so I had considered that as well.
Yeah, I've kind of been leaning towards that one. I mean, don't get me wrong, more Nintendo apps, it's always a good thing, because, we get a fun little Mario game and Mario Run, then Fire Emblem, and then, then Pokemon, like we've spoken about in Animal Crossing, and now Dragalia Lost, which I haven't tried yet, but, I don't know if they're keen on re-releasing their own content on another device that isn't one of their own.
Yeah, and so, I'm leading in the whole, they're patenting it so no one else can have it aspect. And also, I know I said, oh, I hate ports. Ports are terrible. But, it would be kind of cool to actually be able to play this stuff on your phone. And so I kind of do hope that maybe this is a real thing that Nintendo's planning on doing.
Yeah, I think there is a slim chance that, whether it's like a service, like a Netflix for your phone to play Game Boy games, or whether it's a buy the game on an individual basis kind of thing. I think there is more of a chance now than at any point previously in Nintendo's history, because, for a long time, Iwata was totally opposed to the mobile market, and then he kind of softened his stance, and we got Super Mario Run. And then we got Kimishima in as president, and he kind of advanced those plans and made more deals with DNA. And now the new president, Shantaro, I'm going to butcher his name if I try to remember his last name right now. But, I think it was him who recently said, we want a Pokemon Go quality app, for Nintendo. Because Nintendo, obviously, they own a chunk of the Pokemon company, and I think it's estimated they make something like 13% of the profits off Pokemon Go. But, they want a Pokemon Go popular app where they actually own it and reap all the benefits. And I don't think there's any way they can get to that super easily. That's a pretty big dream. Pokemon Go is one of the most popular apps of all time. But I think they can pull in Pokemon Go-style profits if they're willing to take their Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance games and, either release them one by one, drip feed, or actually just do a service. Like, hey, you can pay $5 a month and play whatever Game Boy Umbrella game you want on your phone, and then you can also just go buy this case for $10. It's hard for me to imagine Nintendo doing that, but you got a new president, he's young, he's interested in the mobile market, he wants to make a lot of money, he's got investors to impress in his first year, so if it was ever going to happen, I think this would be the time.
As someone who loves/hates the Virtual Console, please don't do drip feed.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Hey, you like golf?
We're back to that one.
Terrible.
Or, Tetris for the 10 millionth time. Or
there's probably already a Tetris app on on iPhones. Like, I'm gonna look at my iPhone. No,
which one are we talking about? Because there are several, not counting the off-brand ones.
I'm playing Tetris right now.
All right. So moving on to our last story before we get into our discussion segment. This might be the worst headline I've ever had to type in my life.
Oh boy.
Mega Man is getting a live-action movie made by the creators of Catfish.
And we're talking about, like, the show where people, like, meet their girlfriend and turns out to be like a dog, right?
Yep.
Okay, so that Catfish, and not like a good thing.
Well, I'm tuning out. Bye, guys. Oh no.
Yeah, I have a hard time seeing this playing out well. It's possible to do good, like, video game to movie adaptations. It's difficult, and I think it's, a little easier if you're not going for the live action angle. But, Nintendo's got a Mario movie in the works, and, everyone's got them. There's a Monster Hunter movie coming out. So, yeah, I'm not surprised to see Capcom throwing Mega Man out there as well. But I don't know if live action is the right call, and I really don't know if the Catfish people is the right call.
Yeah, A, they're definitely not the right call. B, I'm hoping that this live action thing isn't, like, live action with slight CG. Because have you seen, like, the trailers for Battle Angel Alita? I think that's the name of it.
No, I haven't. Does it look pretty bad?
They're terrifying. They're terrifying.
Like Uncanny Valley?
Uncanny Valley, so much so. Like, everyone is human, everyone's normal, and then you see the main character who's, like, anime, but in real life. So her eyes are huge, her chin is pointy. Like, it's not something I want to look at for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
So if they make Mega Man look like Mega Man in that live-action movie, I'm going to not only run out of the theater, but I'm going to burn the theater down.
It's going to look like all the really creepy, like, middle-aged man Mega Man depictions on, like, the old NES American box art.
No.
When he was actually
Mega
Man.
God stays in heaven because he, too, fears what he has created?
Yeah.
God didn't make that. God had no part of that.
Dr. Light made a mistake. But yeah, what's really weird about this is we actually first reported on this in 2015. Now at the time, like, the Catfish people weren't attached to it, but yeah, it was like way back in 2015 that Fox and Capcom. I don't think it was anything official yet, but like it had leaked that Fox and Capcom were working on a Mega Man movie. And now 3 years later, the best they could come up with is Catfish.
We just got Mega Man back.
And now that Fox is owned by Disney, that means that Mega Man's going to be a Disney princess, right?
That's true.
Princess Man.
And he's going to be a Marvel superhero, too.
I wonder what kind of power that would have, because depending on the property, princesses can be really, really deadly.
You just turn into Bowserette.
Oh, God. Back to that.
More back to Bowserette? No.
And yeah, we've come full circle. So I think now we're good to move on from this horrible, forgettable news segment and get into our discussion
One more thing. If any of our fans happen to be artists, please draw us a Bowserette man. Like a Bowserette Mega Man.
Show us what happens when Mega Man gets the super crown.
Do you think that's going to be the new The Hedgehog? Like how you go onto DeviantArt, type in your name, and then The Hedgehog.
Yes.
Oh, it's already happened.
Stuff. So now you gotta just type in like
of, King
your
Boo
name
and Bullet Bills, Goomba. Just pretty much name it. It's already done.
Yeah,
Thwomps.
Yeah, we just need to make a website where you just submit a picture of yourself, and then it super crowns you and shows you what you'd look like. It'll be.
Let's be honest. I would be pretty sexy.
Would be acting like you're not already.
Oh, Ben.
And on that note, let's go ahead and jump into our discussion segment. So like we said before, we're going to be talking a bit about Nintendo franchise that either need a hard reboot or at least a fresh start of some kind. So I think we've each got at least one franchise in mind. And then if we have enough time, we'll kind of lightning round go through some more honorable mentions too. So I will kick things off. For me, I think the series that just really needs something done with it is Metroid. And, I think a lot of people would agree with that because it's pretty clear to me that Nintendo has had no clue what they're doing with that series for the past, decade or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are we talking about Core Metroid specifically and not Metroid Prime or just series in general?
Well, I would say series in general, but I've kind of got some thoughts on both 2D and 3D, so, we'll get into both of those. Because, in a way, they almost are like separate franchises.
Mm-hmm.
So... yeah, obviously a big problem in recent years has just been Nintendo sort of doing these weird experimental things and people just not liking them at all. Other M bombed. I kind of enjoyed Other M, but it was severely flawed. And, it didn't sell for crap. And then Federation Force came out, and I don't think anyone was really asking for that. And, they both abandoned a lot of the core principles of what people like about Metroid. And then even more than that, I don't think Nintendo knows what to do with the story either. Like, all of the recent entries to me have just been kind of like either rehashes or jumbled messes. Like, Other M just stole like half its plot from Fusion, but wasn't anywhere near as good as Fusion. And then Federation Force is like, hey, people don't care about Samus, right? What if the game was about a bunch of random soldiers? Like, chibi soldiers and mechs. Yeah, the baby.
Oh, God.
And then, like, they also have these potentially interesting plot lines that just don't go anywhere. Like, they've been hinting for about 17 years that the Galactic Federation has, like, some sort of evil group inside controlling it and pulling the strings. But we still haven't really gotten any major confrontation between them and Samus. They just kind of, like, keep hinting at it and hinting at it and hinting at it and then never doing anything with it. And then, like, one of my biggest problems with the series is just how many times they've been like, oh, yeah, all the Metroids are wiped out. Or, oh, yeah, all the Metroids are in captivity. There's only one left or whatever. But, they can never leave it that way because it's the name of the franchise. They're the titular character. So Nintendo always feels the need to bring them out again. And then it's usually for some, like, really half-baked reason. Or they just, like, make another prequel and, shove it uncomfortably into, like, some spot in the timeline. Like, yeah, now we can bring Metroids back because it's there. It's in the past. So I feel like at this point, Metroids have really lost their impact. And that kind of sucks when they're, like, the name of the franchise. They're not really scary anymore. You just see a Metroid, and it's like, oh, yeah, they cloned a Metroid again. Woo. So, for me, I think Switch has been a really good console for fresh starts, right? Where Nintendo, like we were talking earlier with Super Mario Party, how it kind of goes back to, like, the 90s, the basics of the 90s, the stuff that people liked in the 90s. And it's also been a chance for them to, like, sort of modernize some things, too. Like, Zelda sort of went back to basics in terms of its story, You're in Hyrule, go fight Ganon, save Zelda, rescue the kingdom, whatever. But, it did a lot of more modernizing things with its gameplay. It borrowed from... because Zelda really sort of set the mold for what an action-adventure game should be, and then it kind of just stayed there for a long time while other series continued to evolve. So I think Breath of the Wild did a really good job of reminding us what we love about Zelda, while reminding us that, Zelda can be modern too. And then in order to sort of distance it from the plot, they're like, oh yeah, it takes place 10,000 years in the future, so we don't really gotta, newcomers can just come in and experience this sort of pretty standard Zelda story, but it was, it was a great entry point for new people, and it was a great refresher for longtime fans. And I basically think Metroid needs that. Something where a new fan can jump in and say, oh, this is what Metroid's supposed to be about. And also something where veteran fans can be like, yes, this is what I loved. Why did they stop doing this? And I don't think you can get away as easily with, like the 10,000 years thing that Breath of the Wild did, unfortunately, with Metroid. So I honestly think it's probably best for them to do a hard reboot, I think it's best for them to start from scratch, make a new story, and it doesn't have to be that involved of a story. Obviously, some of the most popular Metroid games had almost no story at all. I personally like a little story, maybe something a little more than like what Zero Mission had to offer, but not quite as intrusive as what Metroid Fusion had to offer. And if you guys have played Axiom Verge, I think it does a great job of that, where like there's some cutscenes and some dialogue here and there, but it doesn't interrupt the gameplay too much. And if you want, you can set the game to speedrunner mode, and then it literally just cuts all of that out. It's gameplay only, no plot, no dialogue, no nothing. So I think that would be a really smart move for Nintendo to do. And then in terms of gameplay, like, let's just get a 2D Metroid, not 2.5D that, just looks like a weird N64 game, because that's what 2.5D games always end up looking like. Just go back to 2D Metroid with, like, the big open world of Super, but with the, tighter, more responsive controls of a Fusion. A back-to-basics plot that starts fresh, makes Metroids impactful again, makes them scary again, doesn't just completely rehash some other story. It doesn't have to take place on Zebes. You could sort of change up the origins a little bit, or don't even bother with the origins, just kind of start it, maybe partway into Samus already being this established bounty hunter, and just drop us into a 2D Metroid experience that, like, a modern Super Metroid for a modern audience. And I think that would just be a wonderful place for the series to go to attract brand new fans that don't got to worry about, all this baggage with, past games and past plots. And also for people that have just been wanting Metroid to be Metroid for so many years.
I do agree with that, especially since I personally have never really played a Metroid game. I do love Samus' Smash Brothers, because Smash Brothers is the best game in the universe. And I played, like, maybe 2 minutes of Super Metroid, but, like, I was never really drawn to the franchise because, like, I didn't really grow up with it, and there wasn't really a jumping on point. I was kind of confused about all the lore. I was kind of more of a Halo person, not gonna lie, and they're kind of, like, similar aesthetics.
And came out around the same time.
So, like,
Prime and Halo came out around the same time.
Yeah, an NES Halo, terrible. But yeah, so I think that for me personally, and I think for the audience as well, for people who aren't into Metroid, that would be a good thing. Especially if, like, it's a kind of a simple Metroidvania style and not like a Prime style. And
then, well, Jeff, you had brought up, do I want to address like the 2D core series or like Prime? See, now Metroid's actually had a sort of, I wouldn't call it a reboot, but it had a sort of soft refresh, right? Because Super came out in the early 90s, and then there was nothing for almost a decade. And then in 2001, Nintendo's just like, boom, here's a 2D Metroid and a 3D Metroid, and they're totally different. They're each their own unique experiment. And I think it was just a really, really successful revival for the series. People have mixed opinions about Fusion. I love it, but I accept that it's, not exactly traditional Metroid gameplay. But Prime was the highest selling game in franchise history. So I think they should do something like that, similar, where, you come back with a new 2D game, which, like I said, should basically just be this generation's Super Metroid and a fresh start. And then I think there's also room to get a little more experimental with the 3D title. And personally, what I think they should do with it is use it to sort of fill a gap in Nintendo's lineup in terms of genres. And that's that Nintendo doesn't really have a good survival horror experience. And I think that could be done really successfully with like a, almost like a Dead Spacey sci-fi feel for Metroid. And I've had this idea for a long time. Resident Evil Revelations is one of my favorite games of all time. And I don't know if you guys have played it very much, but you're on this like giant cruise ship overrun with zombies, and a lot of the early parts of the game are pretty linear, but as you progress more and more, the game will be like, hey, here's your objective, it's on the opposite side of the boat, get there however you want, and you can, you can go through like any of the 3 paths that you took to get where you are now. You kind of have your choice, and there's different enemy layouts and everything. So I always found myself playing that game and going, man, I wish it had just a little more freedom of exploration, because one of the big features of Revelations is you have this scanner gun, and you can scan for hidden items, and you can scan enemies and stuff, and, it reminded me a lot of Metroid Prime, and I just, always thought, like, this could be really good, a sort of a Metroid Prime game with a sort of horror feel to it. And, that doesn't have to mean blood and guts everywhere and rated R, or rated M, I guess. You can make it an experience tense without that.
Rated
other M. But baby! So, like, Prime 2, I think, the Dark World areas did a good job of, like, adding tension, without just being bloody or whatever, because the air just kills you. It's like radioactive air. Your health drains constantly. You have to find these safe zones to, to heal and protect yourself. And then also, enemies are only vulnerable to, like, certain weapons. Like, light enemies are only vulnerable to dark energy and vice versa. And your ammo is limited. It runs out and you have to, recharge your light energy, recharge your dark energy. And I think those are all really cool mechanics that, they don't have to do exactly that, but they could bring ideas like that back and sort of just give us a survival horror, open world Metroid game. Because one of my problems with Prime 2 is, especially in the early parts, it was way too linear, just kind of funnels you through some corridors. But if you can give me the open world and interesting environments of a Prime 1 and the tension of a Prime 2, I think, Nintendo could potentially have a really cool, like, sci-fi horror game on their hands.
That is true, especially because Metroid is so aesthetically different from every other Nintendo game in that it's actually kind of terrifying to look at. Like, you compare, like, cutesy Bowser and, like, quirky little, like, King K. Rool, and then you see Ridley, who looks like, the
a literal
horrifying thing you see on the side of your room when you have night terrors.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's where Nintendo really needs to show, like, hey, we're a fun, family-friendly franchise with a bunch of family-friendly people. Look at Mario. But also, we can get down and dirty with Metroid. Look at that.
Yeah, and, like, if you go back to the super cheesy, like, Super Nintendo commercials, obviously, no one took those, like, little kids, like, seriously doing their dorky deliveries and everything, but that's kind of how they pitched Super Metroid, is you're all alone in this terrifying alien planet. Like, are you tough enough to fight your way through it? And, a big thing about the franchise that people love is the sense of isolation, the sense of you against the world, dropped into this, terrifying planet where you're encountering all these weird creatures. And a lot of it was actually inspired by, the Alien franchise, the Alien movie franchise. So I think they could be really well served by just leaning into that a little more.
Yeah, so what you're saying is that more recent Metroid titles, they've kind of lost that particular edge of isolation and it all associated horror.
Yeah, definitely.
And you'd like to see that brought back into the mold.
And then, even take it just a little bit further than they've ever done before,
Not gonna lie, I mean, as an outsider looking in, I would probably pick it up, even though I definitely hate horror games because I can't handle those well.
Yeah, and there's been a resurgence in horror games too, like especially in the indie scene. Like there's all kinds of like Outlast and stuff.
Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah, there's that too. And then like Resident Evil 7,
God.
is the most critically acclaimed game in the series in a long time. So I think people are a little sick of the this is billed as a horror game, but really it's just an actiony shooter. So I think there's a lot of room for more like atmospherically interesting horror games, and Metroid I think could bring something really unique to that genre.
Yeah, it'll be nice to finally have a video game that's, based off the Alien franchise. It's good.
Well, Jeff, you want to jump in with your reboot to be?
Oh, boy. All right, so coming into this discussion at the last second, I did have a couple of other franchises in mind, but we'll save those for the lightning round later. Tess, who was supposed to be here today, she wanted to talk about a particular franchise, and remembering some old notes and rants that I've had about a particular game, I felt, you know what? I kind of want to talk about this too. So, do you know why I like Sonic 06?
That is the worst question I've ever been asked.
Because the hedgehog kissed the human, and it was hot. It was really hot when the hedgehog kissed the human.
Alright, so criticisms aside, I don't typically go into like my reviews or anything thinking Sonic has had like a rough past or anything like that, because as as ill-received as the game had gotten, I had a lot of fun with 06. I mean, sure, the glitches got a little annoying sometimes, but for the most part, the level design, I had a lot of fun with the game, and the music really kept me going, especially the music. I mean, wow, that's pretty much the one thing you can't take away from 06, which, unfortunately, is not the same thing I can say about, I don't know, Yoshi's New Island for the Nintendo 3DS. Good lord.
There we go. There's the title drop.
There's the title drop.
You see, you're kind of like, oh, we're gonna reboot Sonic. Just kidding, it's Yoshi.
The old bait and switch.
All right, but just to be clear, I'm not talking about the Yoshi brand as a whole, especially with Crafted World coming up. I'm gonna look at that as its own thing. I'm mainly gonna be referring to the old like Yoshi's Island name with like Baby Mario going to beat up Baby Bowser. Yeah, yes, exactly. So, my feelings towards Yoshi's Island, that was one of my the original was one of my favorite games I've played in my childhood. I haven't played the SNES original, but I played the Game Boy Advance remake, and I loved it. And Yoshi's Island DS, when that came out, I wasn't too big on it, but I appreciated what it did with trying to expand the gameplay by including, alternate babies with their own.
That was another remake,
cool.
too, right? Not a sequel?
No. That was a sequel.
Okay. I never played the DS one. I played a little of the 3DS one and was not impressed.
Yeah, the DS one, it's okay. It's okay. It's not like it's not a blockbuster title. It's not like something super incredible, but it's a fun time waster, if anything. And I gotta say, Yoshi's New Island. When I saw the footage, I thought to myself, okay, you know what? I could use a fun time like that. And I bought the game. I popped it into my 3DS, and I returned it the next day.
Oof.
Just, oh my god, where do I even begin? So, right, things are already off to a wonderful start. That ending from the original Yoshi's Island, which apparently this game is a direct sequel to, guess what? We're gonna throw it right out the window, and just like that, the now no longer actual parents of Mario and Luigi just start by saying, who are these babies? We're not expecting this.
I didn't expect your first complaint to be about the canon lore of the
dark.
series.
No, but that's just a little footnote, in the grand scheme of things.
It is a weird change.
Wait, so you're telling me that Mario and Luigi's parents looked at them and they were like, "These aren't our kids," and they abandoned them?
Yes, especially given
that's dark. I love that so much. That's some edgy backstory Nike right there.
Okay, how's that for a dark and gritty reboot to Mario Brothers?
Never mind, that needs to be our new survival horror franchise. You play as babies and
there we
just
go.
live in the world.
Wait, wasn't that already a movie in 1993? Yes. Anywho, so going back to Yoshi's New Island. So, alright, so we're just going to ignore that ending. Fine, I'll put up with it. But then the music started playing. So, just to give a bit of context, Yoshi's New Island, it was developed by RSS, a private studio that was made up by former members of Sega and Artoon, who have also, I believe, left Sega sometime before. And Artoon, they were the ones who developed Yoshi's Island DS, which, like I said, nothing stellar, but it was still a good time. And then just when I popped in Yoshi's New Island and the music started playing, kazoo's just so loudly blaring out of sync, I returned it the next day. I'm willing to put up with a bad game, or I'm willing to put up with any game so long as the music is incredible, because the atmosphere, that's what really pulls me in.
Immersive.
That's why I started with Sonic 06, for example, because I tolerated it, I've enjoyed it, and the music was a big contributing factor to it. This game was the first to have made me just put everything down, say no, and just try to get a refund. The first and only Nintendo game I've ever had to return.
Now, here's a question for you. If there was a ROM hack where they replaced all the new Yoshi's New Island music with, the music from Shadow the Hedgehog, would you play it? Okay. Just, going through Yoshi's Island with Black-Hearted Evil!
Brave-hearted hero!
Podcast over.
Is it Brave-hearted or Grey-hearted?
I'm not gonna lie, though, for the novelty I would play it, I think a couple of weeks ago, the Smash Bros. Music blog, it did update with the main theme of Yoshi's New Island, and the instrumentation with whoever took over that one, it sounded so much better. I'm just yes, this is what it should have been. Not this kazoo vuvuzela just garbage, just thrown together, out of sync, offbeat, and just absolutely grating to the ears. Because do you think I would have wanted to listen to cutscenes where it was only just on loop. No.
I,
No one wants to put up with that. No sane human being on Earth would want to put up with that.
I didn't buy the game, but I had a similar, like, viscerally bad reaction to my first time playing it. It was at E3, so I didn't notice the music as much because, 50,000 people around me, and it was like there was someone walking around with, like, they had, like, a backpack on with 4 3DSs attached to it, and they would just walk through the crowd and let people play.
Oh, I remember that.
So I didn't really get a chance to listen to the music, but I started playing it, and immediately I'm just like, oh, this doesn't look very good. Like, all the character models just looked kind of like a pile of pixels. So that's what kind of turned me off to it when I first touched it.
And that's exactly it. The visuals weren't really... I mean, I get what they were kind of going with the cutie pastel, like, chalk-drawn factor, but it just kind of all blended together, and when it came to the gameplay, it was just more of the same. Like, Yoshi's Island DS, I mean, like, it tried something else. It tried to remix a few things by actually switching out Baby Mario with other babies with their own unique abilities. This one is just, okay, different Yoshi transformations and giant eggs. That's it. Everything else was just pretty much the same with underwhelming bosses, an underwhelming story, and oh my god, the story, the final boss, can I just... Oh,
I feel like we've got similar criticisms to all these Nintendo games we're talking about right now. Terrible story.
The final boss, Bowser Jr., a complete and total pushover. You guys have played the original.
Yeah,
Yoshi's
it's been
Island,
a long
right?
time, but I remember as a kid that last boss was quite a challenge to me. I don't know if that'd still be the case as an adult, but I could see that being a huge letdown if the boss of the next game is a pushover.
But like you remember like the mood, like how you felt when you started. Just okay, you beat up Bowser Jr. Oh no, you beat up Baby Bowser. Boom, that's it. And then next thing you know, Kamek comes in, supercharges the whole like growth magic thing, and the next thing you know, the music was just like, yes, and the music was incredible. Just oh wow, like that really freaked me out as a kid. And I remember just freaking out like okay, Bowser Jr. Baby Bowser just got way too close. Okay, now he's far away. Oh no, he's running. Oh no, he's not stopping. Oh no, oh no, oh no, and just panic. Yeah. Nope, game over. That's it. But this Baby Bowser boss fight, complete and total pushover. 3 hits, down he goes. Turns giant. Same process. 3 hits, down he goes. No tension at all. And then, just out of nowhere, after you've been held by the hand to victory, you just want to think to yourself, okay, that's it. Like, I've had my fill. No. Bowser, the adult/present-day Bowser, just crosses time and space just to pick a fight with you because.
Why?
Because.
Why are they having more time nonsense in Mario? I already can't tell the difference between this timeline and the other timeline.
Like, at least there was plot for it in Yoshi's Island, yes, with Bowser wanting to go back to kidnap the 7-star children for ultimate power. Sure. Here, he just shows up. Exact same boss fight, rinse and repeat, that's it. This is not how you do a sequel to Yoshi's Island. Just
tragic.
Sure, like good feel, like they've got something good going on with Yoshi's Woolly World before and Crafted World coming up. That's cool, but just if you're gonna make a new Yoshi's Island game, could you actually just not outsource it to people who just... Okay, I was about to say something incredibly mean there, but just, they didn't really know what they were doing. And at least get somebody else for the music. I'm not asking for, like, 1990s Koji Kondo, but come on, something, you know? Ugh.
So,
rant over. I'm done.
If you are the director of the next Yoshi's Island game, what are some, like, quick changes you make to, like, make it good for the people that grew up loving the original on Super Nintendo or Game Boy Advance, and B, also keep it fresh enough that it's not just a soulless cash grab? How do you go about it?
Oh, that is a very good question. I don't know, I just had my rant.
I just know what I hate, not what I like.
Well, if anything, like, one criticism I can already get out of the way, get someone semi-competent for the music at least, I don't care what you do for the melodies, just as long as it's nice and just flowing and just coherent instrumentation, the bare minimum.
I'm gonna look up who did the music for that game, and now I'm gonna put him on blast. I'm gonna look him up on Wikipedia and, like...
Masayoshi Ishii.
Masayoshi Ishii. His name has Yoshi in it, and yet he can't be a competent Yoshi artist. Terrible.
Yeah, I think atmosphere is really important to those games, too, just because, the first one has a very unique art style and everything, so it's like, if you don't get the atmosphere right, then you're missing a pretty big point of the Yoshi Island experience.
Mm-hmm. And if anything, the music was, like, the one greatest criticism concerning New Island, so Just so long as we clear that threshold, we can at least put out a semi-competent Yoshi's Island sequel. And I would like to bring back the baby's different abilities mechanic as introduced in DS, but not go like full ham on it, where that's pretty much all you can do. Just like, oh, okay, just gotta stop at this one certain station, just cycle through the right baby, go back through the level. Okay, not the right one, gotta go back, cycle through other babies. Just try to streamline that process a little bit. Maybe just limit it to Mario and Luigi.
Well,
perhaps?
and also,
like
I think that might be better served as like a completionist type thing, where you don't necessarily have to switch babies to like beat the level, but like there's secrets that you could only get as Luigi and secrets you could only get as Mario. I think that's the kind of thing that would add a lot of replay value without being like this really forced mechanic.
Yeah, and like don't add barriers, just add alternatives, pretty much.
Yeah, like in Sonic games,
like Sonic 06, the best game ever made.
Yeah, exactly.
Ever, because that one had a hedgehog kissing a human, and it was hot.
But if anything, especially for the final boss, just really build it up. Really make it something to look forward to, and not just something just half-heartedly slapped together. Like, point of reference in doing something right? The original. The terror in the air, like the fear of a giant Bowser, like literally just tearing through your platform, and then boom, you die. Like, actually, like, raise the stakes on the fight, and not just, okay, just charge at that giant egg there, and just egg dose him, and then, okay, that's good. Polite golf clap, do that again. Just I don't want a polite golf clap for the final boss. I want to have to grit my teeth and just try not to lose it. Not because of difficulty, not because of just its simplicity, but just set up a good mood.
You're playing as Baby Mario. You should be crapping your pants at the last boss.
Okay, actually, playing as Baby Mario might not be a bad idea, because I'm just remembering the Superstar Mario from the original Yoshi's Island. That was fun. Oh, like, if you could incorporate that in a boss fight.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Holy crap, I just got a really great idea there. Hey, Nintendo, patent me for this.
They're gonna patent it and then never use it.
That's my great big rant on Yoshi's Island. Mark, what about you?
Okay, so, I'm gonna talk about the most fast-paced Nintendo franchise ever. It's beloved, but not many people remember it because it's been a while since the game's come out. I think you know which one I'm talking about. It's fast-paced, it's futuristic. It's Paper Mario. So, my gripe with Paper Mario.
I thought it was Pushmo.
I don't know what you're talking about. So, Paper Mario is the greatest game in the universe. Like, I said that about Smash Brothers, but there are a lot of greatest games in the universes. Don't at me. I'm not on Twitter. So, Paper Mario 1 was great. Paper Mario 2, Thousand Year Door, amazing. Super Paper Mario. Not a lot of people liked it, but I loved it, because it had a good storyline. Even though it wasn't like an RPG necessarily, it still felt like a Paper Mario game.
But fun and kept the atmosphere about right.
Exactly. And it escalated. Like, the storyline felt like you were in danger, and it felt gripping and excellent and wonderful.
And you can play as the entire Mario cast. Like, you can even play as Bowser.
Exactly. And any game where you play as Peach is automatically an A+. And then, suddenly, they had this great idea where it's like, hey, you know what everyone loves about RPGs? Not the storyline.
Not the progression.
So that's not the progression. Toads. And so that's why Blanking Sticker Star came out. And then they didn't learn their lesson, because, everyone loved Sticker Star. And then they released Color Splash. And let me get my statistics out with Color Splash in my notes. So, here's something interesting. Paper Mario 1 was the top-selling game in Japan on the week of its release, selling more than 276,000 copies. At its opening week of October... What was that?
People just wanted another Super Mario RPG like Square made.
Yeah, so Paper Mario 1, 276,000. Color Splash on its first week, 20,800.
Woo! Solid numbers right there.
Yeah, that's a solid number. That's a solid sinking number right there.
Do you have the numbers for Sticker Star by any chance?
I don't have the numbers for Sticker Star. It sold pretty well.
Because that's the thing. People were buying Sticker Star expecting like another super immersive Mario RPG game, but by the time Color Splash came out, people knew what to fear and expect.
Yeah. And I do have some statistics right here that says, oh god, I don't have the source. Oh well, it's a podcast. So, So breaking things down based off of sales of the console and sales of the game, it meant that Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, 8.79% of people who had a GameCube had Paper Mario Thousand Year Door. Only 3.8% of 3DS owners had Paper Mario Sticker Star. So it goes to show you that not many people cared.
Well, that's probably a little skewed just because of how many people bought like multiple DSs, whereas there's probably less people buying multiple GameCubes. But yeah, it.
Well, I had 18 GameCubes. I don't know what you're talking about.
That was the entire number that Nintendo sold.
Yeah.
I mean, guys,
Tragic.
wasn't GameCube the first ever portable console ever made?
Kind of.
Because it had
I
a
mean,
handle.
look at that handle.
That hot, sexy handle.
Those curves.
On a cube. Those curves on a cube.
Those
Great.
curves and all its edges.
I
All
really
right, so-
wanted to be in love with Color Splash, but
Perfections.
the battle gameplay just wasn't doing it for me, you know?
It's so sad, because, like, visually speaking, Color Splash was great. Like, it graphics-wise,
And I've
yes.
heard the writing was pretty good, too.
Gameplay-wise.
From what I've seen, it wasn't bad.
Yeah, writing, like, comedy timing, like, it was fine. Storyline, I'm gonna get to that. But comedy-wise, you know, Paper Mario and all the Mario games are always pretty fun. So here's what happened. Here's the history of Paper Mario. You got Ryuto Kawade, who did Paper Mario 1, Thousand Year Door, and Super Paper Mario. He's great. He's with Intelligent Systems, and he's not doing Paper Mario anymore. Right now he's working on that stupid Fire Emblem card game that no one plays, because it's not in America. Whatever. They had Kensuke Tanabe take over for the newer games, so Color Splash and Sticker
And sort
Star.
of under Miyamoto's thumb, too, from what it sounds like.
Exactly. And Kensuke Tanabe should kind of have a little, like, ominous, like, organ play in the background, because he's also behind Federation Force.
See, here's the thing. Like,
And
he in the 90s, he made some of my favorite games ever, and then I just kind of feel like he's slipped off. Because, yeah, I mean, he directed A Link to the Past and Super Mario World, and he, like, helped direct some of the Metroid Prime games. But, yeah, recently he's been more missed than hit, I would say.
Yeah. And he's going to be working on Prime 3, so pray for it. I mean, Prime 4, so pray for that. And of course, I'm not hating. I'm not going to be a hater, despite the fact that I am a messy B word that lives for drama. But it was really telling about how the gameplay and the game itself kind of went spiraling downhill once they changed hands. Because according to Risa Tabata, one of the reasons why Nintendo didn't want Paper Mario to be like an RPG is because the Mario and Luigi series was out, and they didn't really want to, like, you know, kind of cross streams, if that makes sense.
Didn't want to flood the market.
And also, like, Paper Mario was innovative in the sense it gave Mario a story. Miyamoto didn't like that. And he was like, what's all these characters? Why are all these characters developed? And why are they not Toads? And so he kind of had, like, a stipulation that they couldn't have, like, new characters. They had to use, like, the main cast. And, like, in theory, that's not bad, because they could have had, like, Daisy and Waluigi. But someone in the development team was like, oh, I guess that means we have to make everyone a Toad.
Yeah, and that sucks because the sort of charm of Paper Mario is one of the best things about it. Like, all the ridiculous characters and their silly dialogue and their goofy side quests and everything. And then, yeah, Sticker Star just kind of stripped a lot of that away. And I get that I'm sure it simplifies the development process, but that's a big part of why people love Paper Mario games. It's just falling in love with that world and all the kooky characters they encounter.
Yeah, like even Bowser, like he was a show stealer in in the original Paper Mario because of course he was a villain. Then of course like he had all this characterization, this world building, this character development, and then Sticker Star he's just no dialogue.
Terrible. Exactly though, because like one of the big things about Paper Mario that I loved, like it had characters that you actually cared about, like Vivian from Thousand Year Door, one of the best characters in the universe. I loved her. Ms. Mouse was like, you know, kind of a Catwoman figure, not really super developed, but she was cool too. Lady Bo, iconic. Hashtag messy B word that lives for drama. Love her. But now it's like, you know, it's so weird how it gave depth to the Mario world that none of the other games did, because the characters actually spoke. You got to see Koopas that you didn't automatically murder. You got to see them in their, you know, actual homes.
You weren't just in the Mushroom Kingdom.
Yeah, you went around town and talked to people. It was kind of really like it made you feel closer to Mario, if that makes sense. And and in addition to like the 3D characters, even though it's a 2D game, oh, there we go. Imagine that. It really helped inspire me to write because of like kind of the depth of the storylines they had. Like Paper Mario 1 was just a generic like Bowser captures Peach story, but it had like depth with all the characters and all the side missions and all the different chapters. And then Thousand Year Door upped the ante. And then Super Paper Mario upped the ante so much that you had this like tragic backstory with Count Bleck, where he's like, I'm not going to spoil anything for this
that made me
15-year-old game. Yeah. And then they kind of just took that away. And the reason behind this is because, like, allegedly, they want to target a younger audience for the new games. So 7 to 10-year-olds. But I take umbrage with that because I was 7 years old when Paper Mario 1 came out.
Yeah, and like it's not like the dialogue or plot in that game is beyond a 7-year-old's comprehension. Like, as long as you keep the gameplay smooth and simple enough that it's, easy to jump into, like, I don't see a problem with that at all. In fact, like, if you have an engaging story and interesting characters and funny dialogue, that's a great way to help 7 to 10-year-olds fall in love with reading.
Plus, when it comes to gameplay, the original Mario RPG games, they were essentially simplified RPGs.
Yeah, very easy to...
Like more digestible RPGs. There was nothing else to dumb down, or not down, but simplify from there. So why take all that away?
Exactly. And, like, I think that, like, when I look back at games that really affected me and really love, it's because it did have this, like, tiny sense of terror inside of it. If that makes sense. Like, it made me feel like everything was a lot bigger than me. Like, I'm this, like, I need to do something because this is scary. Like, I remember, like, the ominous, like, Kingdom Hearts advertisements with, like organ music in the background. I remember the underground levels of Banjo-Tooie that still terrify me. I remember, like, the Haunted House in Mario 64. I think that when you target 7 to 10-year-olds, you can give them something bigger than just, like, oh, here's the beach level. Okay, now we're gonna have a lava level. Like, you can make things epic. You can make things grand.
It's okay to have stakes,
Yeah, steaks. That's what we need. Steaks. I'm hungry.
Me too.
I miss when Paper Mario was known as Mario Story and not Paper Mario.
Yeah, they took things way too literally nowadays. Like, at first it was just like, okay, Mario's flat because it looks like a storybook, and nowadays it's like, okay, now Toad just became a letter because all the color's been taken out. You need to flatten everyone and then, take a pencil and then, write a love letter to someone because, oh, but you're the love letter. Stop making things so literal. It's symbolic. It's metaphor, Hazel Grace.
And the thing is, with the degradation of Paper Mario, I'm afraid as to how the Mario and Luigi RPGs are starting to feel the same way now. Just
exactly.
Like Dream Team, like, okay, like that was fun. That still felt a little outlandish with all these incredible settings, and of course the focus on Luigi during that particular year of Luigi. I fell in love with that game, and then what was the crossover game again called? Paper Jam.
Paper Jam.
Yeah, just like they brought
accurate name.
Yeah, they essentially brought what made Paper Mario generic now into Mario and Luigi, and I'm not just talking about the overabundance of Toads, but just like you said, like, oh, like we've got the desert level, we've got the sky level, and just like there's more to both of those worlds than just what's on paper. But now like we've got remakes of Superstar Saga and Bowser's Inside Story, and don't get me wrong, like I'm especially looking forward to Bowser's Inside Story because I think I brought up during my first episode that that was my foray into the Mario and Luigi games, so I'm just looking forward to that all over again. But I really hope they're not just sticking to rehashes, and then from there, when it comes to making a new game, that they just stick like to the core Mario, and it's just like, oh, like we've got Toads, we've got the grass level and the pyramid level, and just
and that's it. Buy it.
Confetti.
For $60.
You brought up that Nintendo is a little worried about oversaturating the market with the Mario and Luigi RPG games, and then also, I said RPG games. That's gross. And
the royal playing game
yes,
games.
and they don't want to have too much similarity between that and Paper Mario, and then they literally merge the franchises, and it's like, well,
I know, hypocrites.
But like I've been saying, Switch has been this beautiful back to roots system where Nintendo just remembers what was great in the '90s. So if ever there was a time to refresh Paper Mario, it is now.
especially since they're so willing to actually add storyline to things. Like, Odyssey is so, like, oh, Bowser captured Peach, da, 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 da. But, like, it felt better because, like, each world had depth in the design sense. Each world had a reason to be there. Like, oh, this is a world where Peach where they captured the wedding dress. This is a world where they took all the fizzy, the totally not wine. It's not wine, guys. But
sparkling water.
The sparkling water, and it felt. And you've met Pauline. Pauline was there. That's a character, a real kid. It's not a Toad. It's not a blanking Toad. It's Pauline.
Yeah, and they didn't have to do that much. It's not like there was this super deep story. Just like enough to keep you interested world from world, and that's really all Paper Mario needs. More than an interesting story, it needs interesting, fleshed out characters in an interesting, fleshed out world with just enough story to keep you moving place to place.
And that's essentially where the creative differences between Miyamoto and I think Koizumi came from. Like with the original Galaxy, they've essentially like had a whole back and forth about no, the story has to be simple. No, there needs to be there needs to be more depth to it. That's why we got the Rosalina backstory, like with the storybooks in the first game, and then suddenly with Mario Galaxy 2, it's just you're on a planet and you can fly it around into this this level select map and just have fun. And Rosalina's there, cameo at the end. That's it.
Terrible. And one of my favorite Zelda games is Link's Awakening because of the storyline, and that was all Koizumi. Like, I think that Miyamoto said, "Don't add a storyline whatsoever," and then Koizumi was like, "Okay," and then he added a storyline.
That was Takashi Tezuka too was very involved in that one.
Yeah, but like that was amazing because like you actually like Marin is one of my favorite video game characters ever because like it's kind of tragic, and I love her, and I wouldn't have had that if it was just a generic, like, Legend of Zelda, go to this dungeon, go to the next dungeon. Like, you felt for these characters. And that's what Paper Mario needs to go back to, is you need a good, like, a decent storyline with very fleshed out, 3D, but actually 2D in the literal sense, characters. And, we don't have that now, and I think that we don't really need a reboot. We don't need a reboot of Paper Mario, because, like, Mario doesn't really have a storyline to reboot in general. But we just need to, like, go back to its roots and make it Paper Mario 1000 Year Door 3. Or,
just reboot Paper Mario.
Yeah, basically.
And if anything, that's pretty much like why we got Odyssey the way we have it, like with an actual, like, somewhat more fleshed out story, because Koizumi just pushed for it. And,
God bless Koizumi.
And don't get me wrong, like, I love what Miyamoto has done, like, for the industry as a whole and for, like, all of our favorite franchises, but, like, I wouldn't have loved Odyssey as much if the story was just, Bowser kidnapped Peach and that's where it ended, Like, I appreciate, like, getting to know Cappy and getting to explore the kingdoms, getting to know all these side characters. And, Pauline, for example, they brought her back because, hey, remember New York? Remember the original Donkey Kong? Boom. New Donk City. They didn't need to tie those two things together, but they did it, and I love it all the more for it.
That's that Nintendo polish we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we're actually running pretty late here, so I don't know, we might have to skip the lightning round unless you guys just think you can do like some real quick highlights on some of the games you have here. I don't really personally have any other ones that I need to talk about, but if you guys want to get a few lines in.
Sure. If you don't mind, I'll just go through them real quick. Kid Icarus, Uprising was excellent. We need another one like it, or just port it to the Switch,
with better
please.
Controls.
Yes.
Oh my god, terrible controls.
Star Fox, please, not another Star Fox 64 remake. At the very least, if you're going to port Zero, at least fix the controls again. F-Zero, where is F-Zero? Custom Robo. Can we just go back to the original and not just do like another platforming thing like, now, hey, Pikmin's doing it too. Alright, fine, okay. Sure.
See, I'm with you on Star Fox. I had a lot of hope that Zero would be good, and I think there was a lot of potential there, but just... It's partially the controls and then also just the way they weirdly focused you into like certain camera angles that were just frustrating to me. So I don't know why they felt the need to
I'm
throw
all
all those
for taking
in.
advantage of the Wii U, but they could have pulled it off better than that. Just I don't want to have to like keep my eye on one screen and then just aim with something else,
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And Mark, did you have anything you want to say about the games? I kind of just like stole your thunder there. I'm sorry, just wanted to like lightning round it.
I personally hate Star Fox and think it needs to die, so I don't think that should be an honorable mention because I don't like it. Sorry for being a hater. I think that the Famicom Detective Club could be a reboot because everyone loves the Danganronpa games nowadays. And I think that could be Nintendo's in on that. But other than that, I think you mentioned all of them.
Although I think there's one answer that can solve all of our problems, whether it be rebooting Metroid to something fresh, or just bringing back a brand new Star Fox experience, or even a brand new Paper Mario. There's one answer to all our questions. Insert franchise: Air Ride.
Yes.
Yoshi's Island: Air Ride. Metroid: Air Ride. Paper Mario: Air Ride.
You fixed
Fortnite Air Ride. Where are we dropping, girls?
Not gonna lie, I would play a Kirby Air Ride Battle Royale game.
I would too.
Well, on that note, I think we're ready to wrap up. This has been a lot of fun, guys. Thanks for joining me. Thank you to everyone at home for listening. Hopefully we'll get back to weekly releases now, assuming we don't all come down with the plague again. But in the meantime, you can follow me on Twitter at Aramgard. Jeff?
At Visor Jeff Hogg.
And Mark?
I know I said I don't have a Twitter. I do have a Twitter. It's at Mark Ryan Kelly, all one word.
All right. So, yeah, you can look forward to another episode next week, hopefully. And then also, we recently just launched our more sort of laid-back, casual, all-over-the-place podcast called Gamnesia After Dark. So if you want to hear us talk about... Spooky. If you guys want to hear us talk about some non-Nintendo news, or even just branching out into things like anime, TV, movies, we're just kind of... talk about whatever comes to mind, basically. So our first episode of that is out. I'm not on it, but Steven hosted it, did a great job. So we're going to be trying to put more of that out, too. So you can look forward to 2 regular podcasts going forward. Thanks a lot, everyone. Have a good night.
Heck yeah.
We love you,
Good night,
Gamnesiacs.
Good night, America, and everyone else.
Yeah, bye.